Our topic is railroad building in the U.S. by Gia, Meg, Joe, and Brendan. America was in a time of growth, and one of the major ways it grew was by railroad. Railroads became the innovation of moving west. Within 30 years, Chicago had grown to be the greatest railroad center in the world. With the railroad, factories and commerce expanded tremendously. In the 1840s and 1850s, European railroad builders came to America to see how we laid our tracks down so quickly over vast areas. They were horrified. Americans were taking terrible risks. Instead of laying down two sets of tracks, one for each direction, they saved time and money by laying down only single sets of tracks. This increased the chance of a collision. Americans did not level hills, cut tunnels, or lay tracks in gently curved areas. Americans even laid down tracks on top of snow, leaving terrible effects when spring thaw came. American trains often went off the rails as they came rocketing down steep hills or failed to maneuver the sharp curves. In the 1850s, railroad wrecks were as common as steamboat explosions. Experienced travelers learned to travel in the center of the train. That way they didn't die if there was a collision. American railroads were built by private companies with both state and private funds. Also, they were aided by the federal government to lower tariffs on iron rails and free surveys. In 1850, they were given thousands of acres of free land. The United States was different in railroading because in England, they would have a railroad going from one city to another, but in America, we would go nowhere in particular to nowhere at all. Laying tracks was very expensive, and whole communities had to be shipped out to lay tracks. By 1860, steam had transformed transportation over land and on the lakes and rivers of the U.S. The railroad had spurred the growth of factories. Instead of floating their products down to New Orleans, Westerners now shipped their goods by rail and canal to eastern cities. The economic interests of Western farmers and Eastern factory workers were newly united. The new railroad united the country tremendously.